Hi guys, welcome to my studio. Today I have an older clip for you. I'm kind of in the process of reinventing my style. I'm doing lots of different things, and this is my first foray here, this older clip, into kind of collage and mixed media in this sort of style, I guess we'll say. It's difficult because I did a style of art for 25, 30 years, and now I'm trying to switch it up a bit and do different things. So this channel will be about me explore that whole exploration. So today we're going to make this piece. You'll see the version of me making this piece. I start with a masterboard, what they call a masterboard, new terminology to me, and then I made this piece, the tentacle piece, on the computer. I designed it on the computer and then I cut it out of some decorative papers. So without further ado, I guess that gives you the premise of what's happening here. Like I said, it's an older clip, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. So I'll see you in the next clip. Hi guys, I'm so glad you could join me today. So as you can see there, we start out with kind of a neutral masterboard that I just created in my sketchbook there. And I created it before I even had the tentacle idea. The tentacle idea came later. I didn't know. I just wanted to do some collage. I've done a little bit of collage in my time, but not a lot. And so I just wanted to do some collage. And so I created that masterboard, the page there. And then later I came up with the tentacle idea. And now I have an idea of what I want to do, but I gotta say it is drastically different than where I started. So my thinking, my philosophy of art is that each art piece has its own will or its own life. It's alive, I guess we would say. And I think when I've talked to my students a lot about this, I think when you try to force something, you don't get good results. But if you just relax and let it become what it's going to become, it is becoming, in my opinion, it will turn out well. That's my theory. So sometimes you have to let go of your initial ideas and kind of go with the flow. So here what I'm doing is, this is my second time using the jelly plate. The first time I actually used it for printing, but here when I was using it for printing, I realized that I was like, this is a great way to like use the brayer in artwork, and I didn't know where I was going to do it, but I ended up doing it here. So yeah, so this is my second time using the jelly plate in kind of a non-traditional way, I guess, just to brayer out my stuff there. What I'm doing there is I'm using kind of a little tiny starter set of Master's Touch heavy body paints. I wanted to try those versus the soft body paints, my apple barrel paints, on the jelly plate. And from my first using of the jelly plate, I realized it was a good choice, because I realized that I like the heavy body paints better when pulling prints from the jelly plate. But each time, in a while here, I'm going to start using some apple barrels. When doing this method where I'm just brayering on color onto the paper, it doesn't matter. Either paint is good. What I'm doing is I'm working from the darkest dark in the back layer, and each subsequent layer is going to get lighter, 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 and lighter. There are a lot of layers on there. I really like the look that from the texture, so I just cut out various rectangles of different sizes, larger and smaller. And I really like that it's looking like kind of an abstracted cityscape. And now, as I see this, and I experienced it when I was doing it, I think I'm going to have quite a few cityscape pictures coming along here. I'm already thinking of some ideas for a cityscape. It's very kind of mid-century, kind of the mid-century modern art era what would we say, the expressionist is kind of like how they would do a cityscape, I feel, a little bit. So yeah, so I see that in my future at some point. So there's where I started including some apple barrel. And as I said, I'm just getting lighter and lighter and lighter with each subsequent paint color. I'm talking about a tool there, which I don't end up using because I end up using another tool. There, every once in a while, you'll see me pull out the tentacles because I'm looking to see how the red color of the tentacles looks against the background. And I decided I was going to go with kind of a blue-gray rainy day look because I wanted rain. But I ended up, as you'll see here in the future, I ended up getting greener and greener and lighter, even with a little bit of yellow in there, just because that was going to make the tentacles pop. And once I had it all painted, I ended up realizing that I was going to do, I went away and ate or slept or something, I don't know what I did, but when I came back, I'm like, I want to do more collage. So that's why, even though I'm working on the background there, which I thought I was just going to use somehow just like that, it was going to be more minimal maybe. In the end, it took on it went in a totally different direction, which, like I said, is the life of an art piece. I try, sometimes I mess pieces up doing this, but oftentimes if I just listen to my gut, it's usually right. So you can take that with whatever grain of salt you would like. That's just a philosophy that I have over, a lifetime of doing art and 25 years of teaching art. That's just how I've come to think about it. And that's easier as a philosophy than in practice. In practice, it's a struggle. So, yeah. So we're going to continue with the brayering for a few more minutes. In a second, we're going to get out the next tool. I do attempt to use the silicone brush there, but the paint is too dry on the jelly plate for it to actually work. So perhaps that is where I decided that I was going to switch to the cardboard method with the corrugations. I'm just putting that on to clean off the paint from my jelly plate. And here we go with the cardboard. So I gotta say that was a great box. It cleaned off so well. That was a box from Target. I don't know how I got so lucky. It was the only box I had in my house when I went to look for some cardboard to do this trick. I've been using this trick for a good, I don't know, at least 30 years. I used to use it on my big mural-sized paintings. And they were mural-sized paintings, so often I would use a stir stick as well to get those vertical and horizontal lines because the stir stick is longer. So, of course, you have to put in each line every time when you do it that way with the stir stick. But, yeah, so each layer of the cardboard mark making is lighter. So that first layer, I'm using more green and blue. And then in the second layer on top of the first layer, I'll use more yellow and white and that antique white at the top of the palette there. I gotta say, I had so much fun doing this project. Every new direction that I turned or new idea that I had was just such a joy. It was so fun. I've been kind of keeping my creativity pent up though, so maybe that's what happens when you let it loose. All right, so in about a minute, we're going to go with some live action. So there'll be a few moments of pause here, and then I'll pick up talking to you again on the microphone. Okay, we're back. Everything's dry. I've been playing with some things because here is what it looks like just on the page, basically. Looks fine. I don't have a problem with it. But I was thinking needed something more, and I was debating. I thought about the big red raindrops. We may still put 1 or 2 of those in. I don't know. This is a piece of paper that I was actually doing something with stencils and cleaning off the stencils with water, and this is what happened, and I liked it, so I put it away in my collage paper stash. And then I've only jelly plated once, and I made all of these not great things. So, but I was looking through there, and I'm like, well, what if we have, I started out with this, I'm like, we could have some disco ball water. We could have some, it's tentacles, so it probably lives in the water. I was thinking maybe we could have some water, and then maybe a little bit of beach and land or something. These could have kind of like, almost like they're palm trees, abstracted palm trees. We'll have the trunks coming up like that maybe. And then I was looking through my papers, and I had settled on, I didn't see this one in there, but I had settled on this. I'm like, well, that could be like the sandy beach, very abstracted version of sandy beach. But then I found this one, which I like a little bit better. I just like the color a little bit better. And then I found this one, and I'm like, I could use that for raindrops. I could cut out those individual little, those little white circles. Surrounded by blue, basically, and use them as raindrops. And then I'm like, no, that's water. That's the water. It's like the right colorway with some beach. We'll have to figure out how to, maybe, I don't know. We'll have to figure out lots of things. But these four are kind of the colorway that I might use for the mountains. Almost in that patchworky look of people who do the mountains like that, or if you're riding in a plane and you just see the various shapes, and they almost look, they look like organic, not organic patterns, but they're unpredictable patterns, basically. So I think the video's getting kind of long. So I think I'm going to play around with tearing these out and placing them behind the tentacles and see what that looks like. We'll come back and I'll show you, and then I'll decide if I'm going to glue that down. So we'll be back in just a second. All right, so here's where we are right now. I cut off I glued them down, which was easier than I thought. I thought it was going to be much harder, but no, it turned out to be pretty easy. I cut off the overhanging stuff with my blade, and this is what it looks like with the main focal point on there. I think I want to tilt it a bit. I did set heavy books on it, but it's still curly. It was really curly before. I think I want to tilt it a bit. I do want it to overlap there, but I would like stuff to get chopped off a bit here and there. I think things always look good with cropping. So maybe something like that. Now, while I was working on this piece, I did some, when I had leftover paint and stuff, I did a couple of pulls on my jelly plate. That's what we got there. I've got the roll-off paper there. And then this already had a blue background, so I just did some mark making with my cardboard piece on this. I really like how that came out. And with my leftover paint, I painted over this piece of paper. Excuse me. I didn't like the color of the background, so that's a bit better. I do like that these are all in the same colorway, like something could be done with those. But with these papers here, since they're the same colors, I don't even have to try very hard. I do want to add a few grasses down here, a few spiky grasses to diffuse the bottom of the palm trees a little bit. I mean, they could be left as they are, but I think since I want to move this over, so you never, you don't want to put your focal point right smack dab in the middle of the paper. I'd like to do some grasses there, so that has interest there. And I'm going to cut those out. I'm not going to tear. So in the background we had cut pieces. Here we have torn things. That'll be torn. This is cut. I'm going to do some raindrops, and those will be cut, obviously. And then I'll glue that down, and we'll come back and we'll put the finishing touches on together. So I'll see you in just a second. All right, we're back to the microphone. So as you can see there, I'm doing some mark making just to make them look more like, I don't know what they're supposed to look like. I don't really know what kind of tree they are. Kind of an abstracted palm tree-ish. I didn't want them necessarily to look like a palm tree because I had those were originally a flower design that I put on my smidge page. So yeah, remnants of that. But I want to tone down the white a bit because that's the most eye-catching thing on the page right now. That's kind of the focal point, and of course I want the tentacles to be the focal point. So here I'm bringing some yellow into the plants at the bottom. I like how those plants turned out. I'm just using kind of a scratchy, scritchy, smidgy, squiggly motion there, very kind of painterly as best as I can. I'm going to use that kind of yellow, it's a yellow-green color, and then I'm going to use some white, I think, and then I end up going in with some yellow and then some dark green from the abstract palm trees at the top. It happens in stages, though. I love this looser way of working. So next you'll see me start to do some white on the main focal point, the tentacles and the umbrella and the teacup. That got very repetitive. That video didn't come out very good, so you'll see a little bit of it. You'll see a bit of the umbrella and a bit of the teacup. But when I go to do the tentacles, that's not in the video because that video took forever. I was super slow and tentative. These are sped up, by the way. I don't work this fast. I'm much more of a slowpoke. I am like the original slowpoke. So I'm doing some white. Obviously, I want to pull that white down into the main body of the focal point because it's up there at the top with the palm tree part. I'm going to use, I'm outlining the whole thing, and then I'm going to do some mark making or design work in the umbrella. I had done the whole tentacle part, and then the umbrella just looked really blank to me, so I added some designs to the umbrella to just pull the whole thing together. You'll see that here in a second. There we go. I really like how that turned out. I'm showing you there what pins I used on the plants, and then I'm going to add some darker green. That color is from the top of the trees. I'm just pulling it down a bit, kind of have some unity in the picture. I've got to say I have a real love-hate. Maybe it's more of a hate-hate relationship with those Posca pins. I don't know, they're terrible. When I start to do the raindrops, oh, that was so problematic. This yellow works good though. Maybe because I haven't used it very much, but the colors I chose to use for the raindrops, around the raindrops, it was a battle royale. So I just keep layering and layering on the trees with kind of that scribbly, very painterly stroke. very loose, wiggly. That little black mark at the top of the tree there was just, that was just a scratch piece of paper I was using. And then, like I said, I was cleaning off a stencil with some paper towels and it just left those marks. So I will actually be able to cover up. I was going to put a bird there, but then I'm like, no, I don't want a bird there. We don't need anything else on the picture. I was able to cover it up with just the tree colors cleverly. I was kind of proud of myself for that. So I was able to make that black mark go away. Had I been thinking, I should have put a raindrop over it, but no, I didn't think of that. So I want to pull some colors from the sand, the collage bit of the sand, into the upper part. And so I'm just going to outline the raindrops. First I'm going to do that pink. That pink just didn't want to work with me. I managed to get it around all of them. And I was going in for a second coat because usually you need 2 coats of Posca marker. But on the second coat, the pen just wasn't going to work for me anymore. So I switched to using Tombow instead. Right there. And it more closely matches the pink in the sand anyways. So that was a good choice, I think. And then on the outside of the line of that part of the raindrop, I use a bit of the orange, which is also a Posca that didn't really work for me. For some reason, like when I depress the point, a bunch of it squirts out onto the paper, but when I'm trying to color with it, it doesn't work. So for the orange, I actually ended up painting it on from all the little blobs on my paper when I would depress the point off to the side. And then also for the raindrops, on the orange part, I used another Tombow on top. And that worked really well because I was more able to match the colors at the bottom because the Posca pens didn't really match so well. But I do like the look. It gives it more of that whimsical kind of painterly look about it. So here we are, the finished piece. We'll go in for a zoom in so you can see all the wonderful goodness of it. I'm really pleased with this piece. I like how it turned out for my first try into some of these methods. I think I had beginner's luck and it came out really good. So I thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. Live long and prosper. I'll see you next time.